the dopamine effect and social validation. Research indicates that every time a teenager gets a like, a comment, or notification, their brain releases dopamines, creating a reward system that reinforces social media use. How many likes did I have? Did I have a comment? Unlike the past, when self-worth was built on real life achievements, friendships, and family interactions, today's teens often base their confidence on how many likes or followers they have. Moms, you've probably noticed by now that your daughter is becoming a lot more self-conscious, comparing yourself to others, or even struggling with self-esteem. Well, you're not alone, because other moms just like you are probably thinking the same thing and have the same type of concerns you do about their daughter. So teenage years have always been a time of self-doubt. Well, I shouldn't say always, but it's typically a time of self-doubt and insecurity. But today's generation, this generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they face a whole new level of pressure. And you can thank social media for that. And as little as 20 years ago, teens compared themselves only to peers in school or celebrities in magazines. Now they're exposed to highly curated, filtered, and often unrealistic portrayals of what beauty, success, and popularity is 24/7. That means all the time. So in today's episode, we're going to dive into how social media is impacting your daughter's confidence. And it's probably no surprise to you, but this is backed by research and statistics. So you are not going crazy, mama. Then we're going to discuss 3 things you can do as a mom to help her navigate social media in a way that supports rather than diminishes her self-esteem. Here we go. If you are frustrated with how to get your teenage daughter to open up to you because all you want is to connect with her as you once did, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Jeannie Baldomero, a former rebellious teen, now mom of 3 young adults, educator, and the mom mentor, equipping you to create open communication with your girl so she can come to you about anything, even if she's scared. So grab your oat milk latte, breathe, and let's do this together. You're listening to this because your heart is breaking from the changes that are happening in your girl that is affecting your connection with her. Your once cuddly, talkative little girl is now growing up, but with the cost of silence, emotional bouts, and you get the short end of the stick. You fear these disconnections and challenges you're facing right now is affecting your relationship with her. And what will the future hold between the two of you? How will you get through this season without losing the closeness you once had and so desperately want? Mama, I want you to know you are not alone. As lonely as it may feel and almost embarrassing to share with even your closest friends about this because you feel like you're failing at connecting with her, this is common. It's a season. However, I know that you don't want to sit idle during this time. So here it is. This is what I want to tell you. That you can do hard things. This is a season of hard, but you will get through it by equipping yourself with the right tools to turn this all around. I invite you to explore what could be possible for you. Head to talktoyourteengirl.com right now. I want you to join me and let's equip you together so that you can relate and reestablish your connection with your girl. That's talktoyourteengirl.com. Now, if you're a Gen Xer like me, you did not grow up with social media. Our middle and high school communication to the world was either telephone, TV, or good old-fashioned snail mail, or those, creatively folded notes that were snuck across the classroom behind the teacher's back. Do you remember those? Well, I recall my first exposure to a social platform, which was AOL Chat. Yes, I just aged myself. And then MySpace came along. But it wasn't until Facebook, when that came out to the world, I created my account, I think in 2008. By then, I was already a mom of 3. It's not quite the social media beast it is today with TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. If that's still even around. And for us oldies but goodies, Facebook. But even with limited exposure, I dealt with insecurities and self-confidence issues in my teenage years. I mean, I'm talking magazines, my peers, and celebrities probably on the news. That's what I was exposed to. I can only imagine how my daughter and your daughters are navigating these years with all the noise from social media. So I want to share some studies and research about the effects social media has on our teens. So how does social media affect teenage girls' self-confidence then versus now? Well, increased anxiety and depression. You know, anxiety wasn't even a term I knew when I was younger. I knew I experienced some type of anxiety based on how my body was reacting. I had stomach issues. I was nervous. I felt like I was punched in the gut. That was anxiety to me. But nowadays, it seems like even 8-year-olds know the term anxiety. According to the CDC, the percentage of teenage girls experiencing persistent sadness or hopelessness has risen from 25% in 2009. That's around when Facebook kind of sort of just came out. It was probably a year or two old, to over 57% in 2023. Much of this increase coincides with the rise of social media and the pressure it places on self-image. Now, think about 20 years ago, girls still experienced insecurities, but they weren't constantly exposed to images of perfect, air quote, bodies or perfect, air quote, lives at all hours of the day. They can't just nowadays they just can grab their phone at 1:00 in the morning if they can't sleep and start scrolling. That wasn't possible 20 years ago. Social media creates an environment where girls compare themselves to influencers, classmates, and even strangers they do not know, making them feel that they are never enough. Second, the highlight reel and the highlight reel effect and unrealistic beauty standards. Studies show that 90% of teen girls use filters or edit their photos before posting online, leading to a distorted perception of beauty and self-worth. I have to agree with that. Even us moms, I have a few friends that love the filters just to make us look a little younger and a lot less tired. So I understand that is a very valid point, that filters are used on photos, distorting the true reality of what really is, right? And before social media, teenage girls primarily compared themselves to friends and celebrities in magazines. We talk about airbrush. That was a thing. Airbrushed photos back in the day. Today, they compare themselves to an endless stream of highly curated Photoshop. Gosh, technology is great, and how amazing we can do that on our phones. You don't have to hire a professional to touch up your photos anymore. You actually could just use an app to filter your images, or AI to allow you to look somewhat like you, but a way upgraded version of who you are, right? This constant exposure increases body dissatisfaction and lowers self-esteem. As fun as it is to create those AI images with young girls who are impressionable, who are discovering who they are in this world, it can make an impact on their self-esteem, making girls feel like they need to change their appearance to fit an unattainable standard. Get this, an unattainable standard. Now, us older women, as you mature, we understand, oh, that's a filtered photograph. So we understand that, the reality of us looking like that will probably be far stretched, right? It's just fun and games for us because we know it's not realistic. But young girls who are developing their own self-identity during this time are precious. They're precious cargo. Their minds are precious cargo. And it affects how they see themselves. Number 3, the dopamine effect and social validation. Research indicates that every time a teenager gets a like, a comment, or notification, their brain releases dopamines, creating a reward system that reinforces social media use. How many likes did I have? Did I have a comment? Unlike the past, when self-worth was built on real life achievements, friendships, and family interactions, today's teens often base their confidence on how many likes or followers they have. Wow. This dependence on social media for validation can make girls feel anxious or depressed when their posts don't receive as much attention as they had expected to. Okay, now, as I was just saying that to you, it baffles me to think that that is the expectation now. That is where girls in these days place their value, is based on how many likes or how many comments they receive on a post. And that's where they validate themselves. Well, what can you do, Mom, to limit social media exposure and boost confidence? So we know the effects based on research of what this can do to your girl's self-esteem and how she relates to the world. So what can you do to help her? Mama, I'm giving you this research not to scare you, not to lock your daughter up or never give her an iPhone, but to educate you on really what's going on and giving you the real thing. So now, what do we do with this information? Well, number one, set boundaries around screen time. Establish tech-free zones in your home, such as no phones at the dinner table or at bedtime. When my teens were younger, we had a little basket at dinner time. They had to put the phones in the basket, including mom and dad. And then at bedtime, their phones would be charged in our room. That ensured that they didn't have their phones or were tempted to have their phones. We also used parental controls or apps that limit social media usage. We have, if you have the iPhone, I believe there's a family restriction setting that you can put on the phones that are a part of your family plan, so that you can control how much time they are on, one, the phone, and two, what apps they're allowed to download, and they have to ask for permission, right? Encouraging your daughter to engage in offline activities that build self-worth, such as sports, dance, hobbies, or face-to-face friendships, is probably way better than having them want to try and connect with those people out there on social media. Second is encourage critical thinking and media literacy. Teach your daughter to recognize that social media is a highlight reel and not an accurate depiction of reality. Think of it as a photo album of the best pictures. Back in the day, especially the wedding album, we were able to sit with the photographer and pick and choose the highlights, the best pictures, the ones that had the great lighting, the bride looked the best. Who cares about the groom? But as long as the bride looked the best, and we put it together in an album, that is the highlight reel, right? It wasn't the accurate depiction of what really happened behind the scenes at the wedding, but you get the highlight reel. So that's very similar to how we could teach our daughters about social media. Think of it as a photo album, hand-pick photos to depict and tell a story. Show her examples of before and after filter images, or explain how influencers often edit their photo to look a certain way. There is this one documentary on, I believe it was on Netflix, and I can't tell you the name of it, but I remember watching it. Oh, I think it was The Social Effect. I believe that's the documentary. And it baffled me how influencers, created in just a small box, as long as the picture can fit in there, how this one influencer created her looking like she was looking out the window, traveling somewhere, where she really used a toilet seat ring to imitate the window of an airplane. That amazed me. It was both incredibly creative, but very misleading. And it baffled me about how some of these influencers actually do curate these photos to allow people to see a perception that she wanted or he wanted them to see, right? Encourage her instead to follow positive, uplifting accounts that promote self-love, personal growth, and real beauty. I honestly delete accounts that either create strong emotions in anger or put other people down or has comments where people are offended. So I automatically delete those accounts because I don't need that in my life either. I'm a grown adult and can choose what I decide to pick and choose on what I want to allow in my brain, right? That's very encouraging, positive, and helps me grow myself and not make me feel bad about myself. And so that's something I like to do and encourage my daughter. Hey, if it's making you feel bad, maybe it's an account that you don't want to follow, even if what they put out there is good for them. It doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you, right? And that is okay. Number 3, model healthy social media habits. So if you are constantly checking your phone, your daughter will likely do the same. Set an example by limiting your own social media use and prioritizing real life connections. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, or at least this year, you would know that I am currently on a social media fast. And I could tell you it was hard in the beginning, but now it's not so bad. I don't feel like I'm missing out as much. And if I do want to know what's happening, I typically will text somebody and connect with them in that way just to see how they're doing. But I honestly feel like a little freer. I feel like I'm not tied to wanting to know what's really happening, air quotes, out there when I say really happening, and feel like I need to be in the know. And I'm okay and at peace with that. In Talk to Your Teen Girl framework, we talk about prioritizing real life connections, getting to know what your daughter's into. You know, she's a grown girl trying to make her own way in this stage of life. And it's a time for us moms to reestablish who she is, reconnect by allowing her to share with you what she's into right now. What are her opinions? Does her values still align with the values that you have instilled with her as a child? And that's what we do in Talk to Your Teen Girl framework is allow steps for you to find that out. How create moments of fun so that you can connect in that way. And it's non-pressure, it's non-pressure. When you are talking openly about your own struggles with comparing yourself on social media, because even grown women do that too, or even the social media pressures to show her that she's not alone. Talk about the struggles. Talk about how, gosh, my feelings are hurt because I see all my friends at a party that I was not invited to. That really, really sucked. Being okay in validating her own feelings and comparisons about what she sees on social media, and that she's not alone in doing that because you feel it too. And spend some intentional time together doing things that reinforce confidence outside of digital space, such as exercise, volunteering, creative projects. Again, in Talk to Your Teen Girl framework, that is exactly what I do, is encourage you to connect with your daughter in a fun, loving way so that she can start opening up to you in a more organic way because you've built the trust through spending some intentional time with her. Okay, mama. So social media isn't going anywhere. I know that. You know that. We all know that. And while it does have its benefits, it allows us to connect and stay connected with relatives and friends across the world. It also presents real challenges for teenage girls and their self-confidence. So as moms, really our job isn't to eliminate and block it entirely, but to guide our daughters in using it wisely. How? By setting the boundaries, fostering critical thinking, and modeling healthy habits. What is it that you're going to do today, mama? What steps out of the 3 steps that I've shared with you today, what are you going to do? What have you decided to do? And teach that to your daughter or apply it in your relationship. We can help our girls build confidence that isn't dependent on social media validation, right? There's more to life than what's going on in social media. Now, if you need help with communicating this, or even how to start these conversations, as well as tools really to create healthy boundaries around influences like social media, I want you to head over to talktoyourteengirl.com, where I equip you with the tools you need to bridge the gap between your communication with your girl through the Talk to Your Teen Girl framework. Now head on over there. That's talktoyourteengirl.com. I'll see you there. Hey friend, if this podcast inspired you or encouraged you or helped you in any way, I'd love for you to share it. You can screenshot this episode and share it in your stories on social media or text it to a friend who can use the support. It's the best way you can thank me. I want to let other mamas know they are not alone. I'd love to stay connected with you. You can find me at raisingherconfidently.com. Until next time, live full of grace, Jeannie.